Luckily, I actually see it. Now we got volume. All right. So anyway, we have just a short broadcast here right now going on, guys. We are seeing that there are several articles coming out, Haaretz, RT, as well as Zero Hedge, all reporting about Russia going to supply Syria with the S-300 missile system. Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, is saying with Russia's S-300 in Syria, Israel will have to think twice about the next strike. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but Prime Minister Netanyahu had already stated back when there was talk of the S-300 system going into Syria, and this is more recently in the last year, that the Israeli government would target this system and take them all out. So yes, it could definitely significantly increase the tensions in the region. There's no question about that. And of course, we're also dealing with the fact that this was a system that was going to be delivered to the Syrian government back before 2011, before the civil war even began. So it's not like that Russia was just up and planning to put this in there because of what's going on in the current standoff. But Russia says that one of the main reasons for doing this, that is brought out in the RT report, is that Syria needs to be able to defend itself, but also the S-300 system would prevent taking out Russian aircraft as the Syrian government tries to defend their own skies there. The system is far more advanced. They're talking about giving the Syrians the most advanced version of the S-300 system, which would definitely secure the Russian planes that are in the region not to be targeted by the system, and at the same time have a much longer range, being able to take out some upwards to 250 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken, was the distance that this S-300 system has. They also have the ability to track Israeli warplane movements from the time they leave Israeli bases to see exactly what their planned route is. Something they could not do with the S-120 system that Syria has used. I'm not sure about the S-200 system, but it gives them more advanced notice on what's going on. There is also reports, though, according to Zero Hedge, that John Bolton warns Russia missile sale to Syria would be a significant escalation. States here in this article here, it appears Israel has paid a huge price for last week's attack on Syria, which led to the accidental friendly fire downing of a Russian reconnaissance plane with 15 personnel on board, as the door could now be forever shut on striking targets in Syria with impunity. The Russian Ministry of Defense, the MOD, has announced plans to deliver its advanced S-300 air defense system to Damascus within 2 weeks. And that's exactly what Sergei Shoigu was stating on the RT News. It was putting out the information about this. And but as Bolton is saying, though, we do know it will definitely increase the escalation in the region, because as I mentioned before, Prime Minister Netanyahu on the last issue over this being delivered to Syria said that he would target every single system that is brought into the nation. This could even broaden the conflict, because if Israel does target the S-300 systems that will be brought in, you will also have a possibility that more Russians could be killed in this battle, and this could definitely greatly increase the risk in the region there. But then again, does Syria not have a right to defend their own nation from aggressive attacks? I know that Israel and the United States have been saying that the reason for the attacks is the Iranians and Hezbollah inside of the nation. But since Iran has been inside of Syria trying to help defeat ISIS and Al-Qaeda and al-Nusra, they've not targeted Israel. I know there's one claim that it was stated that the Iranians targeted Israel up in the Golan, but that's been refuted by many credible sources since then. So even in that case there, I do believe that if the Iranians had truly targeted Israel, Israel would have not hesitated to go much further than what has been done thus far. Israel would have taken the country of Iran down with nuclear weapons if that had really been the case. But nonetheless, These arguments are going back and forth, very serious situation, and Israel has the right to defend itself, but then again, we cannot say that Syria doesn't have a right to defend its own self as well. That would be very hypocritical of us to say that. So we just have to wait to see how this thing goes and to see whether or not it's going to go through. Russia has said they will do it. President Putin of Russia is kind of under pressure by his own military to do something to protect their servicemen because, after all, 15 Russian servicemen did lose their lives. And Russia is continuing to maintain that the Israeli Air Force did, in fact, use the Russian IL-20 as a cover to be able to launch the attack there near Latvia, which is where the Russian air and naval bases are stationed at. That's pretty provocative to go that close to the Russian military base as well. And but you know, they're looking for an excuse to take down Iran to begin with and to take Syria completely out, because after all these pipelines are being put in place, and Haifa is going to be a port for the oil and gas lines that will be coming across Syrian territory, and they don't want Bashar al-Assad being the one that gets to build it. So I kind of go back to the times of Haddad, Ben Haddad, who was the Syrian king and during the times of the prophet Elisha, and how that he was actually overthrown and it was a new king put in place. And it was a very illegal dictator that murdered Ben Haddad in order to take his place. That's what we see today. We see a bunch of murderers that are masquerading around as if they are Syrian civilians trying to topple their government. And I'm sure they're going to be successful, because if biblical prophecy has cyclical events, this is one that is about to take place. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. And today I think is the 24th, isn't it? Yes, September 24th, 2018. Anyway, we were on a program yesterday, going to be going on with Bonnie Harvey on Hebrew Nation here in just a little bit as well. But with a friend of ours there, Jim Duke. And I think Jim's program is